The previous video focused on sales cat Theo and his promotion as a mid-level wandering merchant. Inspector Zaraf, who was tailing him to learn about his secrets, followed him to the trading market, an area that was accessible only to mid-level merchants and above and famous for its auction halls. However, Theo had nothing to do with them. He just wanted some general-use items from a regular store. The hyena shopkeeper tried to overcharge him and used some clever sales tactics that even Zaraf thinks are hard to deal with. Theo, however, was unfazed, and using Sejun's lesson to ask for a discount 3 times. He beat the shopkeeper and got the goods at a good price. Zaraf could not believe her eyes and finally realized that Theo's technique was so great that the level of the opponent did not matter to him in the least. She becomes his fan and thinks that he is going to be a legendary merchant one day. She thanks him for his lessons and departs to her office, where she decides that Theo has a genuine source of income and is not involved in shady deals like the goblin scaram. On the other hand, Sejun had expanded his field to the outside of the cave and planted corn and cherry tomatoes there too. As he and his friends cover the freshly sown seeds with green leaf mulch, the water from the watering can of a rabbit stops pouring, even though it was supposed to be infinite. Before Sejun can look more into the problem, the black rabbit comes to inform him about an emergency and leads him to the pond, where a new creature has appeared. Sejun is shocked to see giant crayfish in the pond, and while the rabbits are uncertain, he remembers that crayfish are a luxury food item. He begins drooling and decides to hunt them down and expand the protein variety in their diet. Sejun enters the pool with his name dagger in hand, preparing to hunt the crayfish, while his rabbit friends eagerly watch from the side. The crayfish sense danger, and they immediately leap out of the water and attack Sejun. That was a big mistake, as he skillfully hits them all with his dagger and sends them flying backwards. Each crayfish he hunts adds to his XP by 30 points. Behind Sejun, the black warrior rabbit is ready to do his job, and he jumps in the air to intercept the crayfish and hits them for consecutive home runs. The other rabbits transport the dead crayfish, using the cart or by carrying them in their arms. The sickle rabbit prepares to cut the hunt into smaller pieces, while the mother rabbit watches her with the babies. However, the sickle rabbit is not able to make a dent in the tough shells of the crayfish. She turns to her mother and shakes her head in disappointment, but then Sejun arrives there and tells her the facts of the day. He says that crayfish shells are quite hard, so it is very difficult to cut through them unless they are cooked and soft. He explains that they will need to cook them whole and says they should wrap them up in green onion leaves to cook them. Sejun wraps the crayfish in the leaves and then puts them to be roasted over the fire. The smell makes him drool like a toddler, and he exclaims that the delicious scent of the roasted crustacean is covering the entire cave. The rabbits agree with him, and they eagerly wait for the crayfish to be cooked. Soon, Sejun unwraps one of the packs to see if it is cooked, and he is overjoyed as he finds that the crayfish looks ready. The information window also confirms, saying that the crayfish was covered in green onion leaves and roasted alongside corn and tomatoes. The seawater that the creatures lived in has imparted a natural salty taste to their flesh, which is already soft and rich. Next, Sejun tells the rabbits the correct way to eat the new delicacy. He holds a crayfish, grasps its head and body tightly, and then twists it to open it easily. The rabbits are amazed to see his skill. Sejun is more interested in the rich and smooth flesh that has been cooked to perfection, and even the rabbits cannot stop drooling as they see it now. Sejun tells all his rabbit friends to take one each, but I doubt that is going to work for the chunky rabbit, who has started eating before everyone else. The rabbits are mesmerized by the delicious taste of the crayfish and exclaim in joy. Sejun becomes a food critic, saying that the meat was delicious and it was perfectly seasoned without adding anything from the outside, not even salt. While everyone is busy eating, the mother rabbit picks up a detached head of the crayfish, possibly to discard it, but Sejun has another use for it. He tells the mother rabbit that they are not going to throw away that part because it can also be eaten. Sejun explains that the organs inside the crayfish's brain have turned into mush, and thus, it can be used as the most excellent dip. He licks his lips as he dips a piece of flesh into the gooey stuff, claiming that it is an incredible delicacy. He tastes it and remarks that it is incredibly savory, which reminds him of the food back at home. The black warrior rabbit is also curious about the new sauce, and Sejun hands out the head container to him. The black rabbit dips his head into the sauce, and he is not impressed that it looks like puke. However, he decides to give it a try, and just as he tastes it, he feels heaven on his tongue. Sejun asks him if he also thinks that it is delicious, and the black rabbit probably praises the new dip as he begins feasting on it. He drinks straight from the source, and Sejun tells him that he can have more if he likes. Meanwhile, the other rabbits have also started using the brainy dip, while the sickle rabbit helps her parents feed the young rabbits. As they are enjoying their meal, the bear cub Kyung arrives outside the cave, and he can smell that there is something delicious. Sejun tells him to wait a moment, as he will bring some crayfish for him too. The bear cub is very excited, and Sejun says that he will fall at this rate. A few moments later, Sejun puts a huge pile of grilled crayfish before the bear cub, who is really eager to eat them. Sejun explains how he has to eat the crayfish by twisting open its body, but by the time he finishes doing it, he finds that Kyung has consumed the crayfish whole, including its shell. Sejun is taken aback, but Kyung affirms when he asks if it is tasty. Sejun remarks that it is not a bad thing to eat shells because they also have some important nutrients. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of the second floor of the tower, something troublesome is going on. The skeleton village is under attack, and it looks torn and tattered. The skeletons are under attack by human hunters, who show no mercy in defeating them. The skeletons run for life as if they were alive in the first place, but the humans are ruthless and hunt them all. They chase the fleeing skeletons and kill those who fall behind mercilessly. As a detached skull pops around and lands near a man's feet, he crushes it under his soul. It is Michael, the chairman of the largest food company in the outside world, and he scoffs at the pitiful skeleton he just obliterated. The hunters welcome Michael, and he remarks that things seem to be going well in securing the land for a large farm. The leader of the hunters gives him a tour as he states that they have currently mobilized all the mercenaries they have and seized more than half of the skeleton villages on the second floor. Michael is not impressed by his answer, and the leader says that he is sorry, but they cannot move faster than this. Michael asks him to give him a tentative timeline for the project to finish, and he replies that, considering that the area is too vast and the new mercenaries are still low level, it will take them a few more months to finish the task. Michael has no patience, and he cannot wait that long. He starts fiddling with his status window and presents some information to the hunter, who is shocked to see it. He asks what it is, and Michael smugly replies that it is the list of the people who are indebted to them. They took huge private loans to get awakened with the help of a ticket, and his company made them sign lifetime contracts with them in exchange for covering their debt. Michael says that these people don't even need to get out of the tower, so they have all the time in the world to work. He gives the hunter 1 week to finish conquering the entire area, and tells him to focus on his job. After that, Michael goes to the experimental farm labs, where a scientist greets him, saying they were waiting for him to arrive. She claims that the cherry tomatoes have grown to their full size and have ripened, and she asks Michael if he will like a taste. He is really excited and says that his dream project has finally reached a conclusion. He plucks a cherry tomato, but is not surprised when he finds that it is not an item, despite being grown in the tower. He decides to pop it in his mouth and takes his time to enjoy its taste. However, he is in for a rude awakening, and he spits out the tomato because it felt horrible. The scientists ask him what is wrong, and he furiously demands that they tell him what is going on here. She asks him what happened, and he replies that the damned tomato did not taste like anything. The scientist can't believe that, so she tastes one, but her colleague has already tasted one, and she spits it out as she agrees with Michael. The head scientist is perplexed because they added all the highest quality nutritional supplements to the field, but it still has no taste. Another scientist adds that the test results state that the nutritional components of these tomato fruits are below the standard level, and they are at the lowest grade of marketability even in the outside world. Michael is furious that his grand plan failed and rampages in the field, crushing the cherry tomatoes under his feet. However, he is shocked to find something new about them. He sees that the tomatoes were nothing but vegetable balloons that barely had any flesh, and no seeds inside. Back to Sejun's cave on the 99th floor, Sejun and his friends are sleeping peacefully as it is the night phase for them. At the same time, the lone minotaur that has snuck into their field twice has reached them again. He picks up the new batch of mulch Sejun has placed over his crops. The minotaur starts enjoying the fresh grass right at the spot, unaware that danger is lurking nearby. With this chapter ends. It was a bit on the shorter side, but we saw Sejun get a new source of protein, which is more delicious than the previous one. Also, the hunters under Michael are doing what Europeans did all over the world just for their greed. But by a strange twist of fate, their fields are yielding the most tasteless cherry tomatoes. What could be the reason behind this, and how will it affect the story? On the other hand, the thief has snuck into Sejun's farm again, but this time, the mother bear will hopefully catch him. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and a comment, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.